Lucasfilm still seems confident in Rian Johnson's future in Star Wars. I'm, I mean, still? Still? Are you serious?
Come on, don't bullshit me.
Yeah, right, exactly. But what about you? Share your opinion by answering the poll. Well, guys, let's go ahead, check out this article, and then we'll take a good, stiff, hard look at a poll about a Johnson. How's it going, everybody? This is Phil. The whole thing with Rian Johnson, it's almost like sometimes you got to just pinch yourself and ask, what kind of world are we living in? A guy like this comes in and he delivers a completely divisive film in a franchise that had a solid reboot. Say what you will about The Force Awakens, it did bring Star Wars back into the forefront of the blockbuster conversation as far as this franchise was concerned, and he comes in and he completely fumbles it, splits the fan community in half, and then for some reason manages to apparently get a trilogy out of this bungling. He failed upwards, which is just, it's amazing. It's completely astonishing. I mean, it's a real American story of somebody succeeding against all odds. And still, after all of this time and all of the tweeting and the back and forth with the fans and the fans just going after each other and all the turmoil that movie created in the fan community, it split the fan community. We still can't get a definitive answer on whether or not this knucklehead is going to be making his trilogy. He's been completely vague about it. Nobody seems to have any real information about it. He can't offer up anything as far as a concrete idea or direction or synopsis about what his movie is going to be and where it will take place and what it entails. Who knows what the hell's going on? Apparently, maybe he's going to be teaming up with Benioff and Weiss, those two inept morons who completely destroyed season 8 of the Game of Thrones, which was on its way to become the greatest television show ever to be conceived. So now you got those guys teaming up with this guy, and it's just like, what are we doing? What are we doing here? And in the very least, this guy should be nowhere near Star Wars. Like, it's done. It's over. And I don't understand how he continues to still kind of fly around and buzz around Lucasfilm and the conversation for Star Wars. I mean, he's like a really bad fart in an elevator that just lingers on and on and on. And for some odd reason, people defend him, and they like the smell of him. Whatever he's concocted, they like that smell. So they stay in that elevator. And the other half of the people who have taste and good sense, they prefer to take the stairs. No matter how many flights they got to go to get to the floor that they need to get to, they're not getting back in that elevator. And everybody else is like, they're happy to defend this smell, this funk that he unleashed into the Star Wars universe. I'm not one of those people. I like my air clean and fresh as far as Star Wars is concerned. So with that being said, let's move on and read this article, and we'll check out the poll that's listed here, and I'll play along and take the poll. So I'm over on StarWarsNewsNet.com, and the author of this article is Jordan Pate. So let's get moving, shall we? GameSpot recently spoke with the creator of the cinematic disaster known as Star Wars: The Last Jedi, director Rian Johnson, after a special presentation of his new film, Knives Out, which I hear is a great movie if you're looking for a night out where you can kill a couple of hours sitting in a theater hating rich white people at Fantastic Fest. Naturally, they didn't pass up the opportunity to ask him about his involvement in the future of the Star Wars franchise. And why would they pass up such an opportunity? I mean, the guy is a pariah to a large portion of Star Wars fans. So you're only doing your job to bring Star Wars up if you're in a room with this guy and you got a tape recorder handy. Before The Last Jedi was even released, Lucasfilm announced that the director would be attached to a brand new Star Wars trilogy following the conclusion of Skywalker Saga this December. You know what? I mean, it's just like, man, talk about jumping the gun and not waiting for the fallout or the true reaction to something. They gave him 3 movies before the fans, the people that keep the lights on and pay the bills, even had a chance to receive it. And look, when we all saw the trailer, we thought it was going to be something special. And it ended up being special, all right. But even now, this 3-film venture is somewhat of an enigma. It is. It absolutely is. As GameSpot reminds us, he took to Twitter earlier this year to address the rumors of the trilogy's cancellation. And now, Johnson assures us that his future in the franchise is still very much on the table. And here we go. This is it. This is all you need. I'm still talking to Lucasfilm about it. Guys, there it is. That concrete proof that he's made a lot of progress on this movie. He has people working on costuming. The effects crew is working already on pre-production. They've scouted for filming locations. They have their director of photography in place. He's got his buddy Ram on the job, working with him. They've already done some casting. The prop makers have designed a whole slew of spacecraft and droids and weaponry, not to mention have gotten well underway on building lots of the physical sets that they're going to be incorporating into this. They want to have a really old school organic feel to it, much like the original trilogy. Everything is really moving forward, and all the tweeting that he does regularly to the fans, it's nothing but a smokescreen to throw guys off the bread trail that really is the Rian Johnson trilogy that's going to, right the ship and take the world by storm. So no need to worry about it, guys. I mean, it's just everything else that you're hearing is just bullshit. Even the movie Knives Out, it's all part of the plan. This is just an elaborate scheme to keep fans off the trail of Rian Johnson turning out 3 consecutive cinematic masterpieces. I mean, come on, what are we talking about here? I mean, it's not happening. Come on, that's about as vague as you can get concerning the upcoming project. He's been vaguer, more vague, I should say. We all can remember back in August of 2018 when a fan said, "Hey, Rian Johnson, are you still working in your Star Wars trilogy? I'm waiting for it." To which he responded, "Yup," with the fist bump. I mean, at least he gave us a little bit more with the GameSpot interview, but Jesus, I mean, there's just been almost next to nothing to go on here. But the powers that be at Disney Lucasfilm are probably waiting to see how The Rise of Skywalker goes before committing to forge a specific path forward in the franchise. And you know what? This actually would make some sense because, look, The Force Awakens, it made over $2 billion. And then The Last Jedi, it made $1.3 billion. It made, almost $750 million less on a sequel to a huge movie like that. That film, even though it made over $1 billion, and I know it's hard to wrap your head around something that makes over $1 billion not being an outright success, but that movie underperformed. The analysts had put that movie at about $200 million more, which is essentially an underperformer nonetheless. And the toys didn't move off the shelves either. Remember toys? Remember Toys R Us? Johnson also shared that he has been on the set of The Mandalorian and has seen some behind-the-scenes stuff on the upcoming show, which premieres this November on the Disney Plus streaming service. Again, why is he anywhere near any other projects? I mean, just get him and his funk away from Star Wars. He clarified that the show is the only thing he's seen anything about regarding future projects, but while he can't comment on any upcoming films, the fact that he is privy to details on The Mandalorian is pretty telling. That Lucasfilm is continuing to keep him in the loop shows that the company has confidence in the director and still plans to keep him involved moving forward. No, it doesn't. That has nothing to do with anything. George Lucas was on the set of The Mandalorian, and we've all heard the story recently, how he felt betrayed by Disney and Bob Iger and the people over there at Lucasfilm when he sold his Star Wars, his creation, off to Disney, and then he handed them the sequel trilogy, his version of what the sequel trilogy should be, and they chucked it right out the window. They patted him on the head and then threw it right out the window when he thought that they were, at least going to move forward with something resembling the movies that he had conceived. And he created Star Wars. So George Lucas is on the set of The Mandalorian, Rian Johnson on the set of The Mandalorian. It doesn't mean anything. If the guy who created Star Wars can't get 3 movies made, how the hell is the guy who ruined Star Wars going to get 3 movies made? Get the hell out of here with that shit. So Johnson goes on to say, I've seen some behind the scenes and went to visit the set of The Mandalorian. Again, why does this guy have access anymore? It looks incredible, and the stuff they're doing is fantastic. It's almost like a foreign concept. But other than that, I haven't read any other scripts and don't know anything about future movies. Well, good. The more you're kept in the dark, the better. Johnson seemed to be very inspired and encouraged from what he saw of The Mandalorian, and his statement about what he wants from Star Wars personally in the future reveals a sentiment that a lot of people who like these movies can get behind. For me, I'm just a Star Wars fan. But you know what? There's shitty fans. There's Star Wars fans who don't really have the sensibilities to actually create really good Star Wars. That's the thing. He might be a fan. He might love it in his heart as much as anyone else thinks and believes and knows that they love it, but he just might not be able to put it all together for whatever reason. And maybe he just wasn't the right guy to do anything involving the Skywalker saga. I mean, that's been proven. Maybe somewhere rolling around in that big giant round head, there's a Star Wars movie that could actually be good. But who at this point wants to take a 1 in 3 chance going forward? $150 to $200 million a movie. Why would you take that chance and roll the dice on this guy possibly doing something that the fans are really fully going to embrace? Both sides of the aisle, no matter where you fall. Look, he can make something that the people who like The Last Jedi absolutely hate as well. So, I mean, who the hell knows? What I want is for people to sit down and watch something we've never seen in the Star Wars universe before. Well, yeah, you gave us that's for sure. Tell me a great story, something that's going to make me feel like I'm 10 years old again watching the original trilogy. I feel like that's what we all want when the lights go down. And I'm sure he does to an extent, but maybe his childhood wasn't like the vast majority of many other childhoods. That when they first access these movies, they get a certain type of impression and identification with the story and the characters and everything that's taking place on screen in front of them. Perhaps for whatever reason, stuff that he encountered when he was growing up shaped him differently. And then when he finally found himself in the driver's seat, the way that he related to Star Wars doesn't necessarily relate to a lot of people. It doesn't have that kind of universal appeal, and that's a problem. And with something like that, with Star Wars, which is usually thought of as a universally appealing movie franchise, it's not supposed to be polarizing. It's not supposed to be something that necessarily subverts people's expectations in a bad way, in almost a mocking way towards the fan base, where they feel like they've been let down or betrayed. Somebody like that should really not find himself in a director's chair or sitting down writing a script for a movie in this franchise. It just doesn't make any sense, and it's a bad business decision. And keeping him on board, it continues to create a certain level of tension. And when his movies fire up, if they do again, and they start getting ready to go, and they start ramping up production, it's just going to be more of the same. I would think. I don't understand why he wants this kind of pressure on him. And you know what? Just right off into the sunset. I mean, you did everything you could possibly do at this point within the franchise. You know, your services are no longer needed, sir. We wish you best on your future endeavors. So let's finish up here. It says, as I mentioned above, it seems that Disney Lucasfilm is still confident in Rian Johnson's future and star. No, that's your assumption. My assumption is the polar opposite of that. I think this is just nonsense. This is wishful thinking, and you're in denial, sir. What do you think? Well, I pretty much just said what I thought. Share your opinion by answering the poll below. So let's take a look at the poll. And the poll says, should Rian Johnson make more Star Wars movies? No. Absolutely not. So it says, yes, I like The Last Jedi, and I'm a glutton for punishment. He should do more Star Wars films and try to further ruin and tarnish the legacy of George Lucas. Or the next option would be yes, although I didn't like The Last Jedi. Rian Johnson is a good filmmaker who deserves another chance. No. And then we have, no, I didn't like The Last Jedi, and he shouldn't do more Star Wars films. And then the last one is no, I hated The Last Jedi, and I don't like Rian as a filmmaker. All right, let's go with option 4. Okay, and what do we have here? So we have 47% pretty much say yeah, give him another shot, and then we have 53% that say no. Get the hell out of here. And it could be the other way, right? It could be 47 that say no and 53 that say yes. The thing is, when you look at a poll like this, it shows that the fans, they're split. They're split on this, almost down the middle, right? And what have we been saying? The Last Jedi is a movie that is divisive, that has split the fan community almost down the middle, with people who loved it and people who hate it, or people who are lukewarm about it, and other people who maybe tolerate it. But it's definitely created a rift. It's divided the fan community, and that's not good. And because of that reason, it seems like just a poor move. It's a poor decision to continue to go ahead and just kind of leave everyone in the dark. He's leaving people in the dark. Maybe he's in the dark himself. Disney Lucasfilm, they're in the dark. They don't know what they're doing. They're probably waiting to see what happens with Episode 9. I tell you what, if The Last Jedi made almost $750 million less and underperformed by projections of $200 million, and Episode 9, for all they're putting into it and what they're trying to do and trying to please everybody, if that movie actually performs less than The Last Jedi, that is a huge blow. That's a loss. They might come out in the black when it's all said and done with that movie, but for that movie to perform less than The Last Jedi at the box office, when there's so much riding on it and they're trying to restore goodwill and get everybody back on the same page as far as the fan community is concerned, that would be a major loss. That's a big deal for Disney and Lucasfilm. And we'll see what happens in about 100 days as far as that's concerned. I mean, it's going to be very interesting when that movie comes out. So anyway, guys, let me know what you think about this whole situation with Rian Johnson and Lucasfilm and Disney and Star Wars. I mean, do you think that they're just kind of keeping him in the dark for right now, taking a wait-and-see approach as to what happens with Episode 9, and then they'll decide to move forward? Do you think he's working hand-in-hand with Benioff and Weiss? Or do you think that at some point he actually is telling the truth? He has been working on his 3 movies, which I can't believe. If you're working on 3 Star Wars movies, how do you have time to produce another movie, direct another movie, write another movie, like Knives Out, and be on Twitter like a 16-year-old girl, going back and forth with fans? I mean, I don't believe he's working on a new trilogy. Even if he is, he probably has just a rough outline of it. I can't fathom that this trilogy, this supposed trilogy, will ever see the light of day. So let me know what you guys think down below. And of course, like, subscribe if it's your first time here, and I will see you guys again in another video. Until that time, thank you for watching, and as always, be happy, be safe, be healthy. Have a great night, guys. Bye-bye.